Okay, how's this for a preview? We're going to get boring today. Yes, I know. We're going to talk about insurance, but it's one of those shows that we call BBI, boring, but so important. And we'll also talk a little bit about my recent Halloween on the High Seas cruise on the Disney Wish. That wasn't boring at all. All of that's coming up on the DIS Unlimited's DCL show. Hello and welcome back to the DIS Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Forbeck, one of the agents with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, I know it's quite a way of getting you enticed into the show. We're going to be boring today, but vacation protection, so important. And we just want you to think about it. Be cautious about what you're doing. And sometimes people don't fully understand all the ramifications of it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And with me to go through it all, it's my friend and colleague, Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends.
And of course, always with us here is our just rock star producer, Jimmy Valdez. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello.
And so we're going to talk about vacation protection. We're going to talk a little bit about the Disney Wish. But first, I get to remind you that this show, along with everything we do at the DIS Unlimited, DCL Fan, UO Fan, was all brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We're experts at helping you plan your magical Disney cruise, a visit to an amazing Disney theme park, your Universal adventure. Have you done Epic yet? Epic's awesome. Even other cruise lines, there's no additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, none. But we're going to give you insights about your Disney cruise ship, your Disney destinations, Disney park, your visit to Universal. We're going to tell you all about it because this is what we do. And by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, you get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. And I always hear people say, don't get nothing's for free. This is a case where you get free money on board to spend on whatever you want, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Not bad. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I always note that both Elaine and I are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. Yes, this is our job, but we do it because we love Disney and we love Disney Cruise Line. We want you to have the best time possible. Our job, both here on this podcast and as agents, is to give you information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And as Disney fans well know, sometimes we're more critical than other folks because we care about this stuff just so much. We hope you book with Dreams. It allows us to do both this podcast and it's what we do for work. So we like what we do for work. But if you don't, we still hope you have just an amazing time. Lane, I wanted to touch on one quick news item before we dive in. Disney Destiny, of course, coming up fast. The inaugural cruise coming up on November 20th. Very exciting. But we got some insights into. And I did want to note that the DIS Unlimited and Dreams teams will be on board for preview cruises. If all goes well, our show on November 23rd, Sunday, November 23rd, we'll give our first impressions of this new ship. So hopefully all works well, but so we'll give you our first. But I will be on board December 3rd itinerary, and then again for sailing into the new year. So I'll give my impressions after that. In fact, for New Year's Eve, my 14-year-old son will be on board and bringing a friend. So I may try and get their insights about cruising with teens, Disney cruising with teens. So we'll see what we can get. You know, sometimes he's in a mood. One grunt is yes, two grunts is no. So we'll see what kind of moods he's in. But if you've been on the Disney Treasure, you probably know or you've heard about Sage and Coriander. There are storytellers that do these various activities, and they've proven to be very popular. And they use the stage that's on the Grand Hall of the Disney Wish class ship. For the Disney Destiny, we have Zaya and Gamble. I'm sure I'm saying these wrong. They will apparently be playing a similar role. Elaine, have you? Well, I know you've heard about Sage and Coriander because they're going to do kind of all the powerful villains and tell some story. You were the first one that kind of talked about they're using some of the ideas from the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser into the Disney ships, and this feels like they're doing that, right? They're incorporating the storytelling all through the ship. Sage and Coriander have been awesome, and I can't wait to see what Zaya and Gamble have in store for us.
Yeah, they have really, really been pushing it on the Destiny. They are really pushing the whole heroes and villains
Yeah.
theme because it is truly in every part of that ship. And it says that Zaya and Gamble are going to guide guests through an evolving narrative throughout the voyage. So it's not just they're talking about the same thing every day. Like this is going to be a continuing storyline as
Yeah.
the trip goes on. They will appear throughout the day and evening to share stories, spark curiosity, and tie together moments across the ship. So that'll be very interesting.
And the yeah, it's going to be. I'm really excited about this ship, so it'll be really cool to see. One of the other things that I wanted to mention before we get boring is we just did a story, did an episode on pet peeves, dclshow.com/pet peeves if you want to find it easily. And we got a lot of comments, shockingly enough. Anthony and Joanne, among others, were two of the people who said, "Hold on, you didn't mention the muster drill. That's their pet peeve." Elaine and I have a polite disagreement about this. I hate it. She says it's important. I don't like it. I don't think it accomplishes what they want to accomplish. But muster drill, people put a bunch of people had notes about parenting, and people seem to check their parenting. They're on vacation, so we had somebody whose pet peeve was on the Wish class ships, elevators that go up. But the elevators don't all go to all floors on that ship, on those ships, and so she got very frustrated when you think you're getting and you can go to the level you need to and you can't. So that was frustrated. My favorite was Joy, who was living up to her name, and she said, "I really struggle to find a pet peeve for my favorite place to be." Joy, kudos to you, embracing the lovely stuff. All right, Elaine, let's get boring, shall we? Before we dive into this, I always note we are not insurance brokers. To sell insurance, you need to have a license. So we are specifically not selling you insurance. Our goal, as always, I say it every single week, it's to give you information so you can make the best choice for you and your family. Vacation protection is a very personal choice. We are not pushing vacation protection. Again, you will do what's best for you and your family. The thing that we're always asked is it worth it? And there aren't many questions that I dodge, but the worth it question is one that is so hard for us to answer because assigning value is such a personal choice. You know your budget, you know your ability to assess risk, you know your health. There's all sorts of factors that I can't possibly know. And so we're going to give you information so you can do what's best. And just be careful. I've said this a bunch. I will tell you, I always have vacation protection when I go on any travel because, and I say this so many times, I'm bored by it. I have cancer. I don't know. My hurricane maps. My hurricane map is I don't know what's happening from any time. So I need to be prepared. We're also travel agents, so we see worst case scenarios a lot. And in fact, we have a member of our dream team who he had a family member that had to be medevaced off a Disney ship. And it ended up being like $300,000. I can tell you he was very happy that he had vacation protection. So those kinds of things that you want to be prepared for. And with my clients, I always tell folks, I quote Disney Cruise Line, right? If you don't have vacation protection, you will be responsible for all cancellation fees, expenses, including any fees incurred because of trip changes or medical costs that happen during your cruise. So just be very aware, and sometimes you don't always know everything. Elaine, give folks. What do you tell folks about the overview, vacation protection? It is one of those things that's it's a very personal thing. Some people say I don't need it, and we always recommend it, don't we?
It is. It is a very personal thing. And a lot of people say just that. Do I need this? And as Chris said, neither one of us are licensed insurance agents. So all we can do is give you the facts. And so that's what I do. I say, look, the cost of Disney Cruise Lines vacation protection is 8% of your fares. and we'll go into specifics as far as adding it and all of that. But and here is what it covers. We will link it in the show notes so that you can see for yourself what
Yep.
it covers. Take that information, pass it on to, or look at it against whatever your credit card that you are paying for the cruise with. Look at that, see what your credit card offers as coverage, see what outside brokers will offer you, compare it all, see what is best for you and your family, because we can't tell you what to do. I do have something that I am not going to say if this is a fact or not, because I don't know. I've not found anybody that's been able to prove or disprove this. I've even talked to our agency owner, John Majay, about it, and he went to Disney Cruise Line with it, and I really couldn't get an answer. But while I was sailing on a Royal Caribbean ship, I was talking to an agency owner of a different agency there, and he said that if somebody needs to be helicoptered off the ship, they will first check and see if they have insurance, and they will not take you off the ship if you do not have insurance.
Well,
Even if you have cash in your pocket to hand them, they're saying that they will not use the helicopter to take you off the ship if you don't have insurance. I really wanted to know if that's true or not. I have not found an answer, because I can't give anybody to give me a straight for sure either way. I'm just saying, none of us want something to happen on our trip. None of us expect or plan for something to happen on our trip, but it does happen. And
right.
I know that it's another expense. Disney Cruise Line's already expensive enough. This is just another expense, but honestly, it is something that you do need to consider putting into your budget. In your health insurance that you may already have, it is most likely not covering you once you leave the country. So even just general health insurance and having to see a doctor, even if you have to see the doctor on the ship, it is probably not going to cover you.
Yeah. As just a few facts, and Elaine mentioned 8% of the passenger fare. So you pull out tax, ports fees, and all those kinds of things. 8% of that. For most staterooms, you can add it before you're paying full date. Technically, it's before you pay about 80% of the fare, but essentially it's before you pay in full. The vacation protection, once you have paid in full, it is non-refundable. That money is not refundable. For concierge staterooms, you would need to add the Disney Cruise Line vacation protection before you pay your deposit. That's because the deposit on concierge staterooms is already non-refundable. So then not only is if you do add it, it's not only the vacation protection is non-refundable, but also your deposit is non-refundable. So both those are case. But realize that, make sure that you ask for the vacation protection if you want it. And just one change that's only happened this year, Disney Cruise Line rolled out new rules for its vacation protection, new requirements. Essentially, the travel agency has to be based in the United States or Canada. The guest pays for the reservation in US dollars, and the individual guests have a U.S. address. And we have a story on DCL Fan that details those out. But those are new changes that just happened this year. So if you're outside of the U.S., you cannot get Disney Cruise Line vacation protection. So, Elaine, one of the things that I often think about why it matters is not only because of health thing, well, not only because of, oh my goodness, I might lose my cruise, but those health things, and as you mentioned, medevac stuff or something. I mean, at least I don't want to be in a situation where people are deciding that based on whether I have the money or not, and can be medevaced or not, something like that. That could be a life or death situation, and you want to be prepared, or you get. Again, we see all sorts of horror stories about things that happen that people never anticipated, and that's part of the reason insurance exists, right?
That is correct. And it is things that even, we're not even just talking about on your cruise. We're talking about even before your cruise ever even happens.
Right.
I have had a number of clients that have had to file a claim with their vacation protection before their cruise ever happened, because usually it has to deal with either they have to cancel their trip or a single person on their trip is unable to go.
Yeah.
And so they file a claim for that. And it's a variety of reasons. And one of the things that we do want to point out with Disney Cruise Lines insurance is that it does include a cancel for any reason policy. And so I want to kind of talk about the difference in that. If you need to cancel your cruise before the cruise ever happens, based on how close you are to your sailing, once you're inside a final payment and how close you are to your sailing, it's going to be a differing percentage penalty based on how close you get. For this example, let's say we're 10 days away from our cruise and we need to cancel. That is 100% penalty, no refunds. If you have Disney's vacation protection, you will then go on and you will file a claim for the cost of the fares. And if it's deemed by their insurance as being a covered reason, they are then going to send you a check for the cost of those fares that you missed. If it is anywhere before that in those percentage penalties, Disney Cruise Line is going to refund you the part that wasn't in penalty, and then that part that was in penalty, that's what you file that claim for again, and then they are going to send you a check for that. If it is deemed by the insurance company that it is not a covered reason. Covered reasons are things like somebody's in the hospital, somebody passes away. If you are in the military, a lot of times it will even cover if you get deployed, stuff like that. Non-covered reasons are, oh, my best friend decided she's going to get married that weekend, I'm going to cancel. Or, stuff that isn't like that. Or, oh, my son has a soccer game, we need to go to that instead. Whatever. Those are things that are not covered reasons. That is then going to fall into that cancel for any reason policy. So you will still do the same thing. You're still going to file a claim with the insurance company. They are going to send you an email that will say that, this is a non-covered claim and that they're going to deny your request, all of that. What will then happen is several weeks later, you will get notified by Disney Cruise Line that they have issued you a 75% future cruise credit that you can use within 2 years. So you will get 75% of those fares towards a future cruise. So that is kind of the difference in that policy and what those two parts are.
I pulled together some of my pros and cons of using Disney Cruise Line. Again, there are all sorts of companies that do this, and you can absolutely go to an outside. And we often point to, there's a website called Insure My Trip, or there's another one called Squaremouth. You punch in your details, and they will give you a whole bunch of different options, and you can compare and contrast the different companies that do that. Some people who travel a lot, there are annual insurance plans, and they cover your travel for a period of time. Again, check the provisions and what's covered to make sure that works for you. Pros and cons of Disney Cruise Line travel protection. It's easy, right? You just it's all bundled together. You pay for it, boom, done. It's very easy to use. It's managed by an insurance company, ARCH insurance company, and they have all the details right there. It's very easy breezy. One of the things that's important to know is that the Disney Cruise Line vacation protection only covers the things that are on your Disney Cruise Line reservation. So if your flight isn't connected to Disney, your Disney Cruise Line reservation, that would not be covered. If you're doing a pre or post cruise stay and that's not connected to your Disney reservation, that would not be covered. So just be aware of that. That is one of the big differences and one of the things to just be aware of as you're doing that. Did I miss anything there, Elaine?
I just do want to just emphasize, when you say the word connected, that means that you have booked that item with
Correct.
Disney Cruise Line. You have booked flights with Disney Cruise Line. You have booked that pre or post hotel stay and transfers booked with Disney Cruise Line, and they appear on that confirmation from Disney Cruise Line. Those are the only things, as far as the components of travel, that are covered.
So one of the questions here that we all that I often get, and I know you do too. I'm really young. I'm healthy. I don't need vacation protection. What do you tell folks?
It's what we said before. I have a you know, I say that I drive well, but I still have car insurance, and I've got health car insurance because, again, we don't plan for these things to happen, but they happen, and that having a I mean, you could fall down the stairs on your way to dinner. I mean, it's that easy and break your leg. Like it's that easy for something to happen, and things do happen. Things happen every single cruise, and it's just one of those things that will give you a peace of mind that if something happens, it's not going to potentially bankrupt you. Absolutely. I mean, if you have to get treatment in the hospital or something like that during your cruise, that's already ruined your cruise. But coming home to a $300,000 bill, like that's going to ruin your entire life for the majority of us. So, I mean, hopefully you return home and that insurance was a wasted expense. Great. I'm I am happy. I will say that for myself personally, it has come down to budgeting issues, and I was not able to add it on 2 trips, and I was scared the entire time because I knew that I am running a risk of doing that. As Chris says, there are lots of options out there. I did get just finally decided to get one of the yearly policies because it was more cost effective for somebody that is traveling more than once a year, and
Yep.
it would even cover like my laptop because my work laptop has to go everywhere with me. If that were to be damaged on my vacation, it would be covered or stolen or something like that. So that all kind of goes along with it.
And a lot of this stuff is, as I said at the start, this is boring, right? And reading the fine print of an insurance policy, I mean, just one of the rungs of hell. But it's boring but important. Do read and see what's covered and think about, and that's why insurance brokers exist, right? They're out there to help you find the best policy that works for you. So sometimes it does pay, and that's why I like those Insure My Trip and Square Mouth. They can really lay out the considerations for you. The other questions we get is, does my credit card cover me? You read again. You need to read the fine print. And the other question we always get is we get people wanting to add vacation protection after they've paid in full, and you can't do that. So just be aware of the time frames, and it's one of the reasons why I always warn people. I'm going to harangue you about this because it's something that has a deadline. If you don't do it by this point, you miss your opportunity. So you get to make your choice, but I'm going to just make sure you're aware of it and know what's going on.
I do
And the
also
other,
believe,
yeah,
yeah, I do believe, as Chris said, you can add it on. You don't have to add it when you book the cruise. You can add it on anytime up before you have paid 80% of your cruise. So that gives you time to research. However, I do believe that there is a policy, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have pre existing conditions, that you do need to add that insurance on if you're going to add it with Disney Cruise Line. Anybody else, I don't know, within 14 days of booking the cruise. So that is something to consider if you know that you or somebody that you're traveling with does have pre-existing conditions. Go ahead and add that on at the start. That way, those items are covered as well.
and you don't pay for it until you pay in full. So you're not paying for it, but if you're even thinking about it, you may want to add it, and then you can always pull it off later. But again, you're going to make the best decision for you. You really need to assess your own situation, your pre and post. It's complex and it's boring, but I think it's well worth considering. And again, we are travel agents. We see and read all sorts of horror stories out there. And so just be careful. You can, for me, I have peace of mind, and so that is well worth the amount that I pay. But again, consult a licensed professional before you do anything, or spend some time really researching it to make sure you know what you're doing. So, anything else we want to cover there? Because I want to talk a little bit about my Disney Wish trip.
I think that's it. I think I had a thought in my mind that just to tie it all together when you were talking about I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need insurance, and then I was talking about my laptop. I was on a trip with somebody that is even younger and healthier than me, and handed him a cup of coffee, and I did not put the lid on, and he spilled the coffee all over his laptop and killed his laptop while we were on the trip. So you can be young and healthy and still need insurance, because he did have insurance, he did have coverage, so he was able to get a new laptop. So again, that's just kind of one of those things that
He
you just don't
spilled his coffee, or you spilled his coffee?
He spilled his coffee, but it was my fault because I did not put the lid on tight enough.
Oh my goodness. So did your insurance cover it, or does his insurance cover it? I'm just kidding.
He reassured me as much as I cried and said, I'm sorry. He reassured me he didn't care. Everything's fine. So.
He a very kind person, and thank you for that. I got to go on the Disney Wish in September. A lovely trip. It was it was the first time that I had been through Terminal 10. As many of you know, if you're going on the Disney Wish, by and large, you're going to be departing not out of Terminal 8, which is the Disney Cruise Line themed terminal at Port Canaveral. You're going to be going out of Terminal 10, which is right next door. And I'll put photos and we'll have some photos in on DCLfan.com so you can find them. But it is a different experience. It is still lovely, and it's very well managed and very well dialed. But you don't walk through the big Mickey ears, so that. Just want to level set expectations so you know what you're getting into. But it was a great experience. I mentioned on another show that I was staying at a Disney hotel before, because I went down. I wanted to go to the villains thing at Disney, and I wanted to see the new nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom. But so they came to pick up my my bags, and I did not have my luggage tags. They arrived 2 days after I got back. So all of you folks who reach out to us and say, hey, I don't have my luggage tags. Oh, and you're very panicked. I get it. I get the panic, because I was handing off bags with nothing on it. And my bags got there fine. They created a luggage tag. In fact, even the porter who picked them up said, oh yeah, they will create a luggage tags. And I was like, okay, what? It all worked out fine. My bags got there. In fact, they were one of the first on board, and it was nice and easy breezy, and all worked fine. So I always tell folks, worry less about luggage tags, worry more about your passport and your or your birth certificate and those kinds of things. I got to see they have a Halloween tree on board the Disney Wish now. They also have I got to see they have the Sanderson sisters, where they have Minnie and Daisy and Clarabelle as the Sanderson sisters. So that was awesome to see. And I got lots of photos. It was a really great trip, and really fun to see. One of the things that people ask us about is Halloween on the High Seas, and they do trick-or-treating. Essentially, they have a nighttime thing where the characters have a big Halloween bash, and the characters come out and dance with people. It's very fun, but they give you a bag of candy, so you're not actually going around the ship trick-or-treating, but you do get candy, so it's fun. Lots of people in costume. It was very fun, very enjoyable. And I'll tell you, I'm always suspicious of those 3-night cruises, because it feels like you get on and off so quickly. My take is they're not as relaxing as if you go on a 5 or certainly a 7-night cruise, where you really get into that vacation and that groove of cruise. But it was what a great way to spend a weekend. And really nice. Elaine, one other thing I will note is that they had me at I was by myself on this trip, and they had me. I sat down the first night, and I was at a table of 6 for one, and it was a different. Have you ever done a cruise by yourself?
I have never done a cruise by myself, but I do have a friend that he cruises by himself all the time. And he tells me that they usually seat him with a table of other people that are by themselves. So it's a
Oh,
whole
interesting.
table of solo cruisers. And I have a couple of regular clients that are solo cruisers. They tend to say the same thing because they ask me, they say, am I sitting by myself? Or am I sitting with couples or families? Like what happens? I tell them exactly what I just said. But if you prefer to sit at a table by yourself, we can arrange that. All we have to do is put in a request. So I do have a question for you. Did you say you did a 3 night, like the weekend ones?
Yep, Friday and back Monday. Yep.
So many people that I mean, this happens every single year. Once Halloween on the High Seas rolls around, so many people ask this question on the 3 nights. They ask, do I get a pirate night and a Halloween night? So I know the answer, but you can talk about your experience.
Yes, you do get both. You don't get 2 nights of fireworks. You just get one. You just get Pirate Night fireworks. But you do. They do. It's the thing, as I said. There's a lot going on and a lot piled into those 3 nights. So you're doing Halloween one night. You're doing Pirate the next night. Blah blah blah. There's a lot going on. So it's a lot piled in. But it's lovely. What you don't like, I saw a discussion on a Reddit forum the other day. People asking if you're doing Marvel Day at Sea, do you get Marvel fireworks and Halloween fireworks or other Pirate Night fireworks? They're only doing one fireworks now. They do it for the Marvel night, not for Pirate Night. So that's different. But yeah, it was a lovely way to spend a weekend. I should mention Disney paid for part of I paid a chunk of it, but Disney paid for another chunk, so I was hosted. So I'm not reviewing or anything, but just by way of transparency, I will mention on my cruise two. Well, I mentioned 2 things. My server, who is Callum, he was from UK, was super awesome and took such amazing care of me because he saw I was alone, and he just bent over backwards to just. He was fantastic, and in fact, this was, I don't know, Elaine, you'll tell me if you've ever had this experience. I was first night, we're going to dinner, and he saw me in line. I had never met him. This is our first night on board, and he saw me and said, "Oh, you're at my table," and he pulled me out of line and took me to our table. I'm like, "Okay, Callum, how did you know?" And of course, you upload a photo, and so he had looked at all his photos and saw that it was me. I had never had that happen to me before. I was like, okay, thumbs up already from day one, not bad. Um,
I
I was really
never
impressed.
thought that the dining team would have access to our photos. Super interesting. So they could
Yeah, it
kind
was
of
cool.
learn names with faces, or even on the second night, if they forgot who was who, they could like look at it real quick. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was great. He was great. As I say, he was super awesome. Also, that our head server, Vesco, um, there was the second day we were in Nassau. I did not get off the ship in Nassau. I wanted to. I'd only been on the Wish one other time, so I wanted to spend some time getting to know the ship. And right next to me, there was a lovely family, husband and wife, and their probably 2, 3 year old child, and their child was just out of steam and crawled up into his mother's lap and out. And the dining team came and they were putting napkins over him to give him blankets. And they even went so far as to cut up her food so she could eat with one hand as she was holding her kid. It was, and I actually posted to a couple folks and said, this is why Disney Cruise Line is so lovely. They just were appreciating where she was rather than trying. And no one, you all of us who have had kids and we're holding our kid and our back starts to hurt and your arm is falling asleep and all those kinds of, and they made just things so much easier and so lovely for them. And it was just, it really warmed my heart. And I spoke to her afterwards, and just said it was so lovely to see. So kudos to Disney Cruise Line. I really had a lovely time. It was, I'm getting more used to the Wish class ships. I'd done a lot of cruising before, and then all of us. I always say about us Disney folks, we all love change as long as everything stays exactly the same. And the Disney Wish was a big change. I'm getting more used to it the more that I'm on these on the Wish class ships, and starting to really enjoy them and appreciate them for what they are rather than sometimes what I want to be. But it was great, and we did our Broadway style shows a couple of weeks ago. We looked at all the Broadway style shows, and you may remember that Federico is not a huge fan of the Little Mermaid show, and I'm going to have to more side with Federico on that one. So it's certainly not my favorite show. There are a lot of other better ones. So, but it was a lovely way to spend a weekend, and pop down, spend a couple days at Disney World, got to see the new villain show at Disney's Hollywood Studios, got to see the Little Mermaid show at Hollywood Studios, and got to see the nighttime parade at Magic Kingdom, and then go off and do a cruise. And my goodness, what could be better than that? So awesome. So really, really fun, really nice. Anything else? Any other questions you have about that cruise, Elaine? Or are we all good?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Other than I can't believe I've been on the Wish more than you have. So
I know. Well, you did it back to back, didn't you? I mean, right from there, you were on more than me. So it's very nice. As we always say, we'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Literally, it helps pay for what we do here on this podcast. And I'll tell you, I was a Dreams client before I was a Dreams agent. So I get the value. The best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. On the first page, you'll see a Disney Cruise Line ship. Click on that button. It'll ask you your itinerary and your cruise date. If you're not sure which cruise date, choose one. And then there'll be a special request section. You can say, hey, I'm looking at these cruises too. So it's a great way to let us get started and know what you're looking for. At the second page, after you go through that, right at the top, there's a pull down menu. It'll have all the Dreams agents. You could select one. You can select Elaine. You can select any of their. They're really all fantastic. Or you don't have to select one, and you'll get one of the incredible Dreams agents. If you want to select Elaine, just pull Elaine's name down. But Elaine, if folks want to reach out to you other than booking, how can they do that?
My email is Elaine, ELAINE, at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And if you want to reach me, Chris V. Yes, there's a Chris. So I'm Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. I'm also on social media at Yensid Travel on many social media platforms. Yes, Yensid is the sorcerer and sorcerer's apprentice, and it's Disney spelled backwards. There you go, Disney trivia. And I've added a new way for you to reach out to us. You can leave us a message. Just go to dclshow.com/message, and you can record us a message. We've had a few come in. It's great to hear from you folks. So show ideas, questions, any whatever you want, dclshow.com/message. And as always, a special thanks to our producer, Jimmy Valdez. Jimmy lost power today. Well, the power company was going to help him, and then they helped him by turning the power off. So that was not very helpful. But thanks, Jimmy, always for being here. And a special thanks to you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Depending on where you're watching, hearing, please like, subscribe, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does help us a lot. There are these algorithm things out there, and I don't fully understand it, but they matter. So please help us. To that end, if you want to leave us notes in YouTube, we look at the comments all the time, or on the DCL Fan Facebook page, where there are a bunch of people talking about Disney Cruise Line. And of course, send us a message, dclshow.com/message. There you go. With all that, safe travels. We'll see you real soon.